we just heard Aaron Rodgers calling out his receiving corps for lack of effort. He praised his veteran guys like Adams and Cobb, but he's specifically talking about the 3 young receivers they drafted. Max, do you have an issue with Rodgers publicly doing this to such young guys?
I want to be very clear. It's not that I have an issue with what Aaron Rodgers is doing. He's trying to motivate his guys, and as a veteran and the best Aaron Rodgers is the best football player I've ever seen with my own eyes. I know he's not the most accomplished. Brady is therefore greater, and there are other. But Aaron Rodgers to me has the most influence over the outcome of a game that I've seen in the modern NFL. And in other words, he's the best. And so a guy like that, who's a Super Bowl champ, who has accomplished what he's accomplished and is where he is, he can be tough with young receivers and say, hey, you're in the NFL, you got to do your thing. I get that. That's what he can influence, so he's trying to influence it. It's not that I have a problem with that. It's that, in reality, he's spinning his wheels because the receiving corps is not going to be the issue with the Packers. The issue with the Packers, as usual, is going to be the defense. They don't and by the way, even the O-line now, because you got both your tackles coming off injury, and in particular on the right side, Balaga is coming off an ACL, and, he may not even start the season. So there's all kinds of stuff going on and obviously Bakhtiari's also coming off an injury. The line has been a strong suit. We'll have to wait and see. The defense will be suspect, as it has been in recent years. And the idea that the Packers are going to be so competitive, really, it's not about the franchise giving Aaron Rodgers a chance to win. It's the opposite. It's that Aaron Rodgers gives them a chance to win. They're really not giving him the chance he needs. He's just so great. He can elevate an okay team into an apparent title contender. But I think when you look more closely, they are not. So no problem with him calling out the receivers. I just don't think that's the issue with the team.
Well, you're wrong, because it is an issue with the team. But before I get into that, let me say this. Aaron Rodgers, when it comes to the Green Bay Packers, could say what he wants, when he wants, how he wants, to whomever he damn well pleases. This is how I feel about this bad man that he is, the greatest quarterback that I have ever seen in my life. As far as I'm concerned, if he goes to the toilet, somebody should be there to hand him some tissue. I ain't going to say what they should do with it, but that's how ridiculous. That's how much he means to Green Bay. That's how much he means to Green Bay, Molly. I'm serious. This is just ridiculous. Okay? Let me tell you something right now. Let me tell you, this is Aaron freaking Rodgers, okay? The baddest man on the planet when it comes to football. And as far as I'm concerned, if he's calling out these young pups, they need to stand at attention and listen. And damn it, after he finishes, apologize to him for him having to tell them that. Salute that man and then go out on the field and give this effort. But I will say this, it's not all their fault. And here's what I mean. Mike McCarthy, the coach, brought back Joe Philbin. Remember how awful he was as a head coach, but he was the offensive coordinator in Green Bay. He was in Green Bay, rather, from 2007 to 2011, if I remember correctly. He's back in the mix. What has happened? McCarthy said, we're going to, quote unquote, scrub brush the system. So you've got a way that you've been doing things for the last decade, and now you have a situation where plays are being called, there's new terminology and what have you, and these guys have to make an adjustment. That means Aaron Rodgers has to make the adjustment. That means the right side of that offensive line that's basically going through some things, they've got to make an adjustment. And that means the young dudes are there without the services of Jordy Nelson, which is why you point to management, because if you know you got all of these changes that have come into place, the more veterans you need to help out these guys that's going to need to help Aaron Rodgers do his thing. I'm not saying, Max, that the defense is anything to brag about. We know how I've lamented the lack of help that Aaron Rodgers has received throughout the years. But still in all, every year for the last 8 years before last year, they went to the playoffs with him at the helm. Last year, he led them to a 4-1 start before Anthony Barr took him out. 13 touchdowns, just 3 interceptions. He's a bad man. The issue is that they go where he takes them, regardless of what the defense does. They ain't going nowhere unless Aaron Rodgers takes them there, which means it's imperative that defense, that offensive line, that running game with Jamal Williams and those boys, everybody falls in line with whatever Aaron Rodgers needs, whatever he needs.
Let me ask you this, Stephen A. Let me ask you this. I'm gonna list 5 categories. You tell me, like, level of concern. Order them, right? You concerned about
For
the
Green
quarterback
Bay?
in Green Bay?
For Green Bay?
Yeah.
For Green Bay?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes. You concerned about their quarterback?
0. No.
Right. Receivers.
Very.
See, if you look at receivers, O-line, running game, and defense, the O-line is more. There are more questions about it now than there have been in recent years.
Right.
The
That's
running
my
game,
point.
as usual, there are questions. The defense, the most questions. If I look at areas of concern, number 1 is the defense. Then I'll say the running game. Then I'll say the O-line. Then I'll say the receivers, and then obviously none for the quarterback. The point is, of all the areas of concern, receivers is, yes, it's okay if he calls them out because that's what he can control. That's what he can influence. But that's like the least. If I'm a Packers fan, that's the least of my concerns.